Patitam Pavanabhyo, Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha, Om Gyan Tirumandasya Gyanjana Salakya, Chakshu Militamyana, Tashmai Shri Gurve Namaha, Chinada Pi Sunichina, Tarora Pi Sahishnuna, Amanina Manadena, Kitini Sadahari, Tatenu Kampam Susamik Shamano, Unjanai Vatma Kritam Vidpakam, Hitvakvakubi Vidam, Namaste, Divita Dio Mukti Padesa, Dayabak, Anyabalasta Sunyam, Yan Kamilyana Vritam, Anukalenya Krishnu Shilanam, Bhakti Uttama, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadata Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Super, like, kind of tricky, very kind of coloristic, angular piece. This some like by Paul Dilip.
Aaron, if you could keep on the mute
Yeah, I'm
things.
trying to be on the
correct.
Facebook. Can you get on that, Vishnu Priya?
Okay, Hari Bol, Dandavat Pranams. God brothers and sisters, God cousins, God uncles and aunties, God fathers, God mothers, God daughters, God sons, nephews, nieces, from I think all pretty much most continents we've got here tonight. Lots of beautiful familiar faces. Before I introduce the speakers, I want to just center our holistic bhakti session in its proper placing, given that it's a very special day today because it's the disappearance day of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, and it is the appearance day of Jagat Guru Nichilila Pravistam Vishnupada Shatara Shata Shishmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. So it is an incredibly illustrious and huge day for our bhakti. So I think in order to properly center our holistic bhakti, it's important to just honor this great Acharya, this great Vaishnava for a couple of minutes. He is the man who helped with his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, take bhakti out of a dark age that since the appearance and disappearance of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, bhakti had entered a very dark age and had almost become submerged or minimized by the prevalence of both Sahaja and Mayavadi teachings. So here came this great warrior of a Vaishnava who beautifully appeared in the family of such an illustrious Vaishnava like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he took the mission of his father onto a whole nother level because Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he laid the groundwork for our modern mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but his actual external preaching was really limited to Navadvip and to Bengal mainly, and hadn't become prevalent everywhere. And Bhakti Santa Saraswati Prabhupada, he was able to, I mean, I can't do justice to him in a few minutes, but I just wanted to, I think it's important to honor him because we owe him everything. None of us would actually be in this Zoom room together if it wasn't for him. He established our whole Guru Parampara that have become incredibly corrupted through familial gurus that had peppered the so-called Parampara up till then. He refined that to a Guru Parampara that we're all now connected with authentically and beautifully, so that our journey back to Godhead is much smoother with their mercy of a pure Guru Parampara. His preaching was massive, and he established the Gaudiya Math, and through him, so many other great acharyas were nurtured and taught, and then became great preachers in their own rights with great missions. And if it wasn't for Jagat Guru, if it wasn't for Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Prabhupada, we would not have anything that we have today. The Chaitanya cult would just probably be minimized to a bit of Navrup and a bit of Bengal, and we would never have heard of it. So he's an absolutely central personality in the whole mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one of his teachings was that he said that there are 5 types of knowledge. One is pratyaksha, paroksha, aparoksha, adhokshaja, and apakrita. The first one, pratyaksha, is our direct experience. And because of our limited sense perception, he referred to that as clearly false. And the second one, paroksha, is knowledge about Swargaloka, the heavenly planets. The third area, aparoksha, is as taught by Sankacharya, is the teachings that everything in this material world that we may gain is just temporary, will come to naught, for we are all in bodily conception bound to die. So everything that we identify with at the bodily level is simply temporary. This is the third area of knowledge. And the fourth area of knowledge, Adokshaja, refers to the Vaikuntha planets where there is no anxiety and no suffering. And the fifth area is the Apakrita knowledge, area which is the realm of Braj Lila. And he said, this is the real knowledge where Krishna, this is the highest knowledge, I should say, where Krishna is controlled by his mother and father, he's controlled by the gopis. This is our destination. This is where we want to get to. This is where, as Gurudev would always have his sannyasis stand up and explain, what is the goal of bhakti? Anya blasta sunyam gyan kamdhyana vritam, anukalenya Krishna shilanam bhakti uttama. He had every sannyasi recite that in the Sanskrit and also give the translation. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is that this holistic bhakti session and this whole holistic bhakti model and what Brajanath and Dilip are going to do today, our speakers, carrying on from last week, is we want to help ourselves and fellow devotees make bhakti very practical, very, very meaningful in their day-to-day lives. And we want to address very practical, fundamental issues. That means getting into the nitty-gritty of everyday life and the nitty-gritty of painful emotional experiences we have as human beings. It's not easy being a human being, right? In this body, in this kind of strange environment that the soul's not really comfortable in. But it's also very important to keep one eye on the goal. So Srila Gurudev always had one eye on what's your goal. So while we're down in the, if you like, in the basement or on the ground floor level, talking about the very basics today of our experiences and our concerns and our doubts and our relationships with each other and our relationship with God, Bhagwan, and our relationship with other jivas in this session, it's always important to be mindful of what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was teaching us, which is the most intimate knowledge. The greatest knowledge is Apakrita, the realm of Braj Lila, Anyablasta Sunyam, that we all want ultimately we want Manjari Bhav, our real identity, to be revealed to us. So it's very important, even if this goal is very, I remember when I came as a devotee in 1996, I mean, you know, hardly knew the Mahamantra, let alone what a Manjari is. But Gurudev would see this goal in my mind, and I always knew, okay, what I'm learning now is good, but it's not necessarily the ultimate. It's in service to the ultimate goal. So my offering here is to evoke the spirit of Jagat Guru, of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, and say, yes, we are doing what we're doing today because we want bhakti, because we want the ultimate goal, because we want the rarest jewels in this universe revealed to us from Parampara, from Gurudev. That is our goal. Anya blasa sunyam gyan kamdhyana vritam kalenya Krishna shinam bhakti uttama means that we want to be unswerving, unceasing servants to Sri Krishna for his exclusive pleasure, unrelenting, unceasing, and that we want to be thus without any desire for any personal karmic gain, any mystic cities, or any yogic progression or any impersonal liberation. We don't want any of that. We're very pure in our motivation. And even if many of us will feel impure in our motivation now, of course I'm impure in my motivation, we desire that we become purified in our motivation. So everything we're doing is in service to that. So I wanted to presence that on this very, very special day, worshiping and honoring our Jagat Guru. So this is a bonus session. We normally congregate every 2 weeks, but last week it got so beautifully flowing, and there seemed to be so much more that devotees wanted to say. Spontaneously, we felt let's have an extra session, which is today. I'm assuming that there may be 1 or 2 people who didn't come last week, so forgive me for repeating a couple of things before I introduce our guest speakers. But last week, our speakers, by the way, before I explain what happened last week, our speakers are Shriman Brajanath Prabhu and Dilip Prabhu. And Shriman Brajanath Prabhu has been a stalwart devotee for, I don't know, 40, 45 years, served beautifully the mission of Srila Prabhupada, and has played a pivotal role from 1993 onwards in serving Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, who toured the world, how many times? 20 times? 25 times? Extraordinary amount of times, from the age of 76 to the age of 90. And Brajanath was always by his side, always serving him, always facilitating him traveling to all the countries in the world that he visited. So many countries, so much incredible service. His nishta is so beautiful to observe, and he's very, very keen to spread the love and affection that he saw in his guru, in my guru, amongst the jivas, amongst the devotees. And he's partnered by Dilip Prabhu, who's also a devotee who met Srila Ramaraj and also Srila Bharati Maharaj, and he's an expert in personal development and coaching, and has a very compassionate way of helping people, devotees and non-devotees, connect with their truest selves and bringing people out of themselves in a very benign and very progressive and very beautiful way. So they're a team that's going to be presenting today. And Dilip Prabhu asked the audience last time, please let us know where you are on a scale, I think you said on a scale of 1 to 10, but where you are in area 3 main questions. What is your relationship? What is your harmony like in your relationship with God, with Krishna? Where are you in harmony in relationship with yourself and also with other people in your life? That was the kind of foundation stone of last week's presentation. So I think that brings everybody up to speed, presences us in the glorious of Jagat Guru, and helps us remember what our goal is. And so I'm ready now to hand over to Dilip and Brajanath. I don't know, I can't remember who's speaking in which order, so I will just hand over and let you guys decide who's speaking next. Hare Krishna, and I'm excited for this session. Haribol.
Haribol, just before we hand over to Brajanath Prabhu, I just want to very quickly say, if you want to submit questions that Brajanath Prabhu and Dilip Prabhu and the whole panel can answer, please consult the chat box for the details on how to do that. So now I'll hand over to Brajanath Prabhu.
Okay, thank you all for being with us this evening, especially the beautiful team who are doing a great service by helping us to understand how to implement bhakti so that it becomes holistic. Yeah, especially Yasodanandan Prabhu, Tarun Prabhu, Vishnu Priya, and beautiful panel members, Bhagavat Maharaj, all the senior devotees, Budar Prabhu, a special thanks, Lalita, Raghava Prabhu, Madhuvrata, Ramananda, I know all of you are such amazing souls. Thank you for being, everyone, with us today. I'll start with a few prayers, like to invoke auspiciousness, that we may all benefit, especially myself, from being with all of you and receiving your kind tolerance and appreciation, your kind ears to listen and to engage in meaningful discussions or questions and answers. Agyanati mirandasya jananjana salakaya Chaksurun miritam yena tasmai Sri Gurave namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripa tamaham vande Sri Guru dinatarine. Gurave gaura chandraya radhikaya tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tada Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Naham Vande Tava Charanayor Dvandvam Advandva Hetu Kumbhipakam Gurum Api Hari Narakam Napanetum Ramya Rama Murdutanuratanandane Navirashtum Bhave Bhave Ridaya Bhavane Bhavayeyam Bhavantam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I pray to the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. To the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. To the lotus feet of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kesava Goswami Maharaj. And today, especially to the lotus feet of Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada, along with his beloved disciple, Srila Bhakti Sharoti Maharaj, whose special festival we observe today and also tomorrow in many parts of the world today, other parts tomorrow, but these great personalities, they have come to bring harmony in our lives. First, I want to acknowledge that I want to share with you what is my own experience. I also have learned something from the Shastras, but mainly what I experience, I want to share with all of you about harmony. Harmony, like last week, a short recap, for me it means happiness in Krishna consciousness, Guru Nishta, all the things that are very near and dear to me, they make me experience harmony. So what happened in my life, that meeting those personalities, those great souls, either through Shastra, to hearing from their followers, or in person, I became aware that this bhakti process is really the essence of the whole existence. So we are together here for holistic bhakti. Holistic, in my understanding, means how we can integrate bhakti in our daily life. How to do that in a way that will create harmony in our life, in our awareness, in our experience. The happiness of Krishna consciousness, the happiness of bhakti produces an intense, beautiful experience. And that harmony is what we are really aspiring for, that inner experience of harmony. So bhakti, as I've come to understand, is really an internal process. Although most of my life I was focused, or not focused, I think attracted to the external world, and still I am attracted to the external world. But when I want to really feel wholesome and in harmony, then I check in with myself. And we can call that sadhana bhakti. I think that is a great name, but it is a very personal experience. I want to mention that and share that with all of you, that we are, I feel that I can be honest about it. I'm a person. I don't know who I am. I think this body is who I am. And mostly I relate to that in the environment that I live in from the bodily platform. But really, I come to understand in my sojourn in especially the beautiful association of self-realized souls, that this body is not who I am. It is a vehicle which I can use to go forward on the journey towards perfection. But really, I am the soul within. And bhakti, as all the scriptures and all saintly persons are informing us about, it is an internal process. It happens within. So the harmony, the happiness that I'm searching for is part of my inner experience. How do I bring it about? In my life, I have been in beautiful situations, especially for many years, 15 years, 17 years, 18 years. After meeting my beloved Gurudev, he invited me wholeheartedly to be always with him. And I took that without any hesitation, that this is what resonates completely with me. I want to be with him. Yeah, he's inviting me. Wow, he reached my heart. And then I felt like, how am I going to accomplish all that? But sooner or later, Krishna gave me the inspiration to be with Srila Gurudev externally for beautiful journey. He took me all over the world, showing me all the places that people want to see and people want to be and experience happiness. And time and again, I was beautifully reminded by him that it's about your internal experience, about the internal development, yeah, of happiness and harmony. And where is that harmony? In its absolute experience or nature. That is when we, or myself, or anyone who is interested in bhakti, learns the art of connecting with the spiritual dimension, which Yasoda Prabhu shared with us. This was the purpose of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. He said, I've come to connect you with the aprakrita, yeah, topmost level, most finest and most beautiful state of consciousness or knowledge. I think that the knowledge has no longer any proper reference to the experience, because the experience is now pure love. Yeah, that is the essence of all knowledge. Bhakti Vedanta. This is the essence of all learning, all types of knowledge. So that aprakrita, topmost Goloka Vrindavan experience of consciousness is called the pure Raga Anuga or transcendental Braja Prem. That is the experience which we are invited to move and develop and help each other on this beautiful path to achieve that. Coming back to my personal experience with Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, my beloved Gurudev. When we started to travel the first tour in 1996, an amazing thing happened, the centennial year of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And as Yasoda Prabhu mentioned, I was somewhat involved in the institution of Srila Prabhupada, and that year was the centennial year. And like we are now in the centennial year, and we have the beautiful experience to be part of happenings which are really fascinating and keep our attentions focused on the glories of these pure, beautiful personalities. So in that year, I was involved in the Centennial Committee, and one of the they had a beautiful lotus flower with unlimited petals, but some of them were prominent. And one of them was there that we organize a party of kirtanias, yeah, who are expert in kirtan, like Ramananda Prabhu and others, yeah, to travel all over the world and give new inspiration, new life to all the devotees who had become somewhat, yeah, without enthusiasm and felt neglected, who were connected previously with full enthusiasm. So that beautiful part of the centennial came to pass when Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, who was the dearmost disciple and very intimate friend and associate of Srila Prabhupada, started to travel all over the world in 1996. And then before we left, Srila Gurudev told me that he said, from now on, we're going to go everywhere around the world, he says. And there will be many things to manage. Yeah. We will be more involved, he said, in book printing, book publishing, in engaging new and beautiful souls to blossom in bhakti and to establish proper respectful relationships with the Vaishnavas all over the world and manage so many other things. He said, correspondence, anything that will come. And he said, you are responsible for all this, he said. I have no time for this. You have to take full responsibility. Of course, that was for me like another wow moment, you know. he's having so much trust in me, and I know my shortcomings, but still, and he must know them also, but he trusts me with this responsibility. So after that, I came to think, because whenever that is my nature, I receive an opportunity to be engaged in service, especially the service which are intimately connected with these great souls. I start to think how I can accomplish this. Yeah. Then I thought, let me observe. Yeah, because in the association of Srila Gurudev, I saw that he was expert in dealing with any circumstances, any situation. And he was also responsible for managing parikrama and what have you, all book translation and publishing. Then I was thinking and meditating, let me observe how my beloved master, at that time, the friendship was still very respectful. After that, so many beautiful moments happened and impressions that it became like a amazing relationship, and it is still continuing to grow, yeah, in my daily life every day. I was thinking, let me observe how Srila Gurudev is dealing with all the situations that are happening, because it wasn't that he stopped, although he said everything is for you, but really I felt that he's doing everything and he will guide me anyway. So by his guidance, by his inspiration and his example, I observed that Gurudev always made a priority that I want to do my bhajan, he says. Really, this is my priority. And what that really entails, I want to share with you. Whatever I am practicing, I won't say everything, but really, I have learned to give quality time to communicate in the mornings with Srila Gurudev, with Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, and all the beautiful acharyas in our what we call the Bhagavat Parampara, the pure line of the disciplic succession coming from Srila Rupa Goswami Pad. Praying and uttering their names and remembering their glories, yeah, is one of the most beautiful ways to communicate with reality as it is, yeah, because they do not come in this world as ordinary persons. They are transcendental personalities. And knowing this, even theoretically, starting to pray and communicate with them gives such an abundance of, I don't know what it is, but not of this world experience, out of this world experience. Yeah. After that, communicating through prayers. Yeah, beautiful. What I learned from my beloved Gurudev, every morning, he would start praying for half an hour, 1 hour, yeah, and crying sometimes, yeah, with tears. I saw how Gurudev was deeply absorbed in not only repeating the prayers, but deeply connecting with the meaning of the prayers. So I am, whatever is in my capacity, trying to follow in my own life this beautiful approach towards the day, and then chanting Harinam, and also giving quality time to read the scriptures. Yeah. This is part of my daily routine, and similarly, I repeat that in the evening, yeah, so that I again connect with Shastra, with Gurudev, with Harinam, and with prayers. And I have come to learn that in the beginning I did not know, but I only did so by the example of my beloved Gurudev and also by his very kind advice and instruction. Gurudev was telling, if every day we would be coming to Kartik festival, that is the parikrama, that is in the month of Damodar, every year, and every day of the month, twice a day, we would chant a beautiful prayer, many prayers, but especially the Sisi Radha Damodar Ashtakam, yeah, or Damodar Ashtakam. And that prayer is very sweet and with beautiful meanings. And Gurudev would elaborate the glories of that prayer. And at the end of the prayer, yeah, Gurudev would advise us who were sitting in front of him that this prayer should not only be recited during this month, he said. You can do that every day of the year. So, and by doing that, your bhajan will start, he says. Yeah. What is that bhajan? To communicate with Sri Krishna, to communicate with the devotees of Sri Krishna, to establish a interaction, a relationship that is so fulfilling and so nourishing and satisfying that it provides an abundance of harmony within the heart. I would say that again is synonym to being happy in Krishna consciousness. Then from that platform or that beautiful space, in the day we will meet with so many different circumstances. We'll have relationships. We'll have opportunities to connect with new persons, new circumstances. Sometimes we are traveling or we are moving our place in the world. Then everything that continues to happen and take place throughout the day, because of that beautiful, nourishing, and I would say filling up, yeah, the heart with that area which is so much necessary, with the love and the affection and the glories of the Vaishnavas, the glories of the beautiful descriptions of Sri Krishna, the glories of Harinam, and creating a very beautiful friendship with that, because it is a daily beautiful experience. I come to realize that throughout the day I can give, yeah, rather than expect that others should give something to me. I can give what I call, yeah, something that is coming from within myself. And although I am not in any way any, famous or whatever you call it, I'm a very simple person. I'm a conditioned soul also. Yeah, you should have no doubt about that. I have many imperfections. But I feel that from this place that I experience, that I fill myself up with, yeah, I can give proper respect with a mood that I can give something. Yeah. Not that I am in need. And if I request anyone for anything, it is not on the basis of that I feel that, oh, if they don't agree with me, I will not be able to function. No, simply as a beautiful encouragement and inspiration to also join this beautiful experience that is called bhajan. Yeah, that is the real, I feel, essence of holistic bhakti, that we can help each other to perform, yeah, that activity which will create from within us, yeah, the experience of bhakti. It is that process which connects the soul with the supreme soul, the soul with this beautiful, liberated and amazing personality. So from that basis, I want to conclude today my presentation that this is really what in my personal life is happening for me, and I have a long way to go, but I feel good about myself, good about my interest to communicate. And I know I have a long way to go. Therefore, I need all of your blessings and your kind friendship. And I look forward to deepen our relationships so that we can, because I need that myself more than anything. I want to be in good company, and I want to help, yeah, support others, and also receive your support, because there is nothing that is more beautiful than to be with loving devotees, yeah. Similar, like-minded, yeah, who are on the journey towards perfection. So today, this is my contribution. Thank you, all of you, for listening. And let's open the floor, I think, for Dilip Prabhu and Tarun Prabhu. I remember last week there were quite a few questions. I don't know if we are able to deal with those questions. I leave that up to Tarun Prabhu. And I want to now thank you for everything, for your kind, yeah, association today. Vancha kalpa tarupyasya kripa sindhu eva. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Thank you so much, Brajanath Prabhu. We are very happy that you agreed that you would come back again this week and speak again.
I will come next week also, if you want.
Haribol, yes, I hope so.
We're just touching the surface. Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of it as well, that you know, we give so much, or the devotees give so much, and we're only even just scraping the surface. You said earlier, the essence of all knowledge is pure love. So there's so much knowledge, you know, vast libraries of knowledge all around the world, but essentially, eventually, it all leads to pure love. So there's so much there's so much knowledge that we can accumulate, but really the essence is pure love, and that is where the harmony is coming from the love. I was taught when I was younger that to love is to give. It's not to take, it's to give. So that's also something else that you touched on, how we'll have more harmony in our lives if we focus on giving more and taking less. So yes, I want to hand over now to Dilip Prabhu, who's going to take us through the next segment of tonight.
Thank you, Brajanath Prabhu. Thank you, Tarun Prabhu. Great. It's really very, very wonderful to be with you all today. And I want to get straight into the conversation we were having last week. It's so nice to be asked to come back so soon. And so I want to give you a chance, for those of you who weren't here last week, or even if you were, to re-presence these three relationships: relationship with yourself, with others, and with Krishna, or your spiritual life, if Krishna is not yet the person or is your God. So some of you are really clear what you want to talk about or engage with today, and some of you need some time. So just want to presence that first. So let's go to your relationship with yourself. Whether you want to give yourself a rating or just reflect, relax for a few minutes as we get into the conversation. I want you to see if you can connect with your heart. Slow down. See if you can see past your thoughts to the real important areas of your life. So let's look at our relationship with ourselves. How good do you feel about yourself? How rooted are you in yourself? What is your experience of yourself? Are you living according to your ideals and values? So if you hear me pausing, it's just to give you some chance to really take your time with this. And I'm going to move in a second to our relationship with others in a moment. And I'll pause in between to give you time to slow down as well. Hear yourself think. So with your relationship with others, how much support do you have in your life? Do you feel the people in your life are your well-wishers? Are you able to bring out the best in others? Are those relationships really magical the way you'd like them to be? Is there love and affection in all your dealings? Do you understand the needs of others? And do they understand your needs? And in your relationship with Krishna, with your spiritual life, how would you describe your bhajan, your spiritual practices? It could be on the level of how many rounds you're chanting, the amount of reading, your knowledge of philosophy, or your mood, your connection with Gurudev, with Parampara, with Krishna. How absorbed are you in your spiritual practices? For some of you, these could be very difficult questions, as they are for me in this regard, as I find myself, really looking at these questions deeply. Sometimes I don't want to look at them at all. You may be in a different place. So it's more important that you say where you are to yourself. You're honest about where you are, not where you'd like to be, but where you are right now. Could be easy, could be painful. Just notice any emotions that come up as you consider these questions, and see if you can just give space to those emotions as they come up. What we're looking for is, where is the discord? Where's the lack of harmony? Where is it painful? Where is it hurting or disturbing, creating some discomfort, tension? We're looking for the central nervous system so we can deepen our bhakti. And when you're ready, just take a moment. If you want to write some things down or reflect for a moment, I'd like to hear from somebody who would be courageous enough, willing enough to talk to me and the panel and explore this. It was wonderful what happened last week. I don't expect anything other than whatever comes today. I would love to hear from you. Where is the discord? If you'd like to write it in the chat, please, we'd love to understand what some of your needs are, where the difficulties are, so that we can address them with you from different perspectives. So, who'd like to talk with us? The panel ready? I'm also there as part of the panel. And to really see what we can discuss in a very loving, open manner, so that you have space and time for this conversation. So who'd like to say some? Tarun Prabhu, if you could help me here.
Oh yes, of course.
With-
So if anyone would like to speak in a similar format to last week, so in this sort of conversational engagement with Dilip Prabhu, and then feeding back to the panel. Forgive me if that isn't how you would describe it. You might want to correct me in a sec. But if you'd like to speak, could you send me a message in the chat and say, and then I can pick you out, or you can just jump, or better, you message me actually.
Okay, let's be clear. So message Prabhu. And if you'd like to write some things in the chat as well about what you're thinking, what you're feeling right now, that would be really nice, because that was what helped last week, is just to get a sense of where you are.
For those not familiar with Zoom chat, don't send the question to everyone. Send it only to Tarun Krishna or to Vishnu Priyadas. Vishnu Priya, sorry, just change your gender.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, to Vishnu Priya as well. Thank you.
Vishnu Priya or Tarun, but not to everyone.
Okay.
Wait. Sorry. Could we get something clear? I think there's two different things. There's one is if you would like to speak. So I'm getting some people messaging me now.
Right.
And if you wanted to share what Dilip Prabhu was saying, which was a general sharing of harmony. And then another thing, because we got a few different things, are the questions, because we're going to have another section after this. We're going to have a Q&A. So if you submit it, if you want to submit questions, I've literally just posted it. Sorry, just spaced out.
That's good. It's
yeah,
good.
so submit the questions via the information in the chat box.
Yeah, it's very clear. Three things. So if you'd like to speak directly to Vishnu Priya or Tarun Prabhu, sharing what you're experiencing where the discord is lacking to everyone, and questions again separately, right?
Yes.
Good. So thank you, Tarun Prabhu.
Okay. Okay, are we ready to call on the first person?
Absolutely. Would love to hear from you. So
okay,
talk to us.
Okay, we're gonna call on, I think, Sudevi, I think from somewhere in England. I can't remember.
Great.
Where.
Sudevi. Super.
Hi, Haribol.
Haribol, Sudevi.
I guess what you said is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and the questions that you asked helped me to kind of connect the dots in what I have been meditating on lately, which is that when I feel disconnected from myself, or I don't feel like I'm fully within myself, it's quite difficult to feel deeply connected spiritually.
David, I'm really sorry. The last 5 seconds or 3 seconds, I lost you.
Okay. I said that when I notice that I'm not feeling very rooted in myself, it's harder to feel rooted in my spiritual practice. And then, so that, I think that's something that I have been meditating on, and that I've been actually, even this morning, kind of asking Gurudev in my heart, like, well, how do I connect to myself in a way where I stay rooted in that, regardless of what might be going on, so that I can stay rooted in my spiritual practice. And then also, I think where I feel the discord is in when I do feel connected to myself and my own nature and what my desires for, in a way, in terms of how I might want to serve or have a sense of purpose in the world is, I feel the discord is in the knowing that and then somehow finding the courage to act. Like there isn't a bridge in my experience of being myself between being and then acting, and I don't really know how to get to the acting space. So I'd love some insight on how I can stay connected to myself and from that place actually find the courage to act from myself. And I think possibly part of the discord is in spending so much of life acting from what you think other people would want you to do, or being too aware of other people's energies and other people's natures and acting from that place rather than my own. So, yeah.
That's so beautifully said, you know. I'm not going to try and follow a formula like last week, but I'll start with this place. But if anybody in the panel wants to step in straight away, if you feel inclined and you want to say something, please just, you know, step in or ask me to stop. And otherwise, I'm going to follow a certain pattern, but be very open to Bhagavat Maharaj and other people on the panel to please say things. I think one of the things I can do is help bring greater clarity, at least at stage one, for what you're describing, so that we can then go a bit deeper.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is that okay? So
yeah,
first of all, I mean, I'm so grateful to you for speaking the way you have. I can imagine there's a bit of, it's not easy to do that. And, you know, you talked about courage. But, you know, my heart's beating a bit faster and I don't know you, but I just appreciate some of the courage to speak like this in a very open manner, which is wonderful. So that's action as well, right, on this conversation. What does it mean to be rooted in yourself? Let's go back to the beginning.
Dilip, one thing. Dilip,
yeah.
would you mind repeating the question, your own words, so that we're all clear on the question?
The question is, where is their disharmony? Was the original question. Is that what you mean?
No, it's the Davies question.
Well, I'm breaking it down because there's lots of questions within what Sudevi's saying. So let me start from what I think the beginning is. And Sudevi, tell me if I'm in sync with you or not. But the first thing you said was, you know, to be rooted in yourself was the most important thing. And the connection between that and being rooted in your bhakti. And it starts with being rooted in yourself. So my question would be, what does it mean to be rooted in yourself? What does it actually mean to you?
If I can get a little bit poetic with it.
Yeah, I'd love that.
I have a reoccurring dream that is like, it's just this amazing, beautiful landscape. And it goes on for hundreds and hundreds of miles, and there's waterfalls and there's mountains and every kind of terrain and wild animals and everything. And there's places that I'll revisit, and then sometimes I'll visit a new place. But it doesn't matter where it is. I don't have any fear. Any of the wild animals I see, despite being completely wild and untamed, I feel connected to them. And I'm free to roam and explore and feel at home in that space completely. And I noticed a few weeks ago when I had this dream that the wild was kind of taking over a city, that I hadn't dreamt of that space in a long time. And that space, that sort of dream space, was me. It was like my energy, that feeling of being at home within myself. And I guess my psyche was pushing the wild self back through into whatever's kind of been constructed and organized in the meantime. So it's kind of, I guess it's kind of hard to describe what it means to be rooted in myself, but it is that feeling. It's that feeling of being able to express oneself freely and having the courage to act as however I feel I should. Feeling my own potential, like that limitlessness of the land and the beauty of it, and feeling that about myself and trusting it enough to act on it. And I think the most important thing being connection, feeling rooted in a sense of connection to Gurudev, feeling rooted in a sense of connection to Radha and Krishna in my own way.
Yes.
And that I feel so solid in that it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. It doesn't matter. That connection feels unshakable.
How does it feel right now?
It feels at the moment not as strong as I would like it to be, but I think that's because I want it to be stronger than it's ever been before. So
Okay.
I think I'm feeling a need to kind of be more myself, and therefore in comparison to the need, it doesn't feel like it is that strong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. There's something stirring, isn't there? It's like you have got an experience of yourself. I mean, I can't speak for you, but I can see you do have it, but you want it to be more and wider and unshakable when you're, and also when, of course, when you're connected to Gurudev and that experience. Otherwise, it's a nice feeling, if I understand you.
Yes.
And it's bubbling away in you. I don't know you, but I get a sense that there's this desire to really be, as you say, more of yourself now. And that's where I come to the other word I wrote down was action. You want to be doing it more consistently all of the time instead of in pockets. Is that also what I understand? Yeah.
And I think something I've been wrestling with is the idea of, it's kind of like if a tree falls in the woods, but it doesn't make a sound, did it really fall, kind of thing. It's almost like if I am rooted in myself, but I don't manifest that into the outer world, does it not have value? Or is it valuable enough is the most important thing to be connected within oneself. Because I think that the call for action, or the feeling that there's kind of discord in my lack of courage to act, comes from an inner desire to actually have a purpose and a place in the world of action. But I think there's another part of me that questions whether that is just me getting caught up in the idea of what creates value, and that being out to action and not being content with just who I am inside.
Sorry, you asked a question there. What's the answer to that question?
I don't have the answer. I think ultimately on an absolute level, it is about being content on the inside. And perhaps what I'm wrestling with in this lifetime is locating self-value and locating spiritual value in one's own practice.
Okay.
Something like that.
Is it something like that, or is it that?
I think it is that.
Yes. Okay, good. So we go right down to the root of it in this lifetime, at this point in your life, it's self-value.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. So let's just pause there.
And really that can only come from that dream space that I have. When I dream of it, it's not that there's no one else there. There are other people there, but it's not about the other people. So I suppose that sense of value and connection has to exist regardless. There will be other people involved, and perhaps that can be shared with others, but it's not actually about an external validation thing.
That's right. Yeah, you said in the first expression of the landscape in your world, it was what people think, but actually, if you have self-value, that will diminish over time. It's not the real issue, is it? It's always going to go back to self-value, because you've got different strands of your, of your world, and it's always going to come back to them. I think that's really nice to get that clarity.
Yeah, thank you for helping to make that clear.
Yes, sometimes we just need to hear ourselves think. So with that, I'm going to stop and let the panel talk about self-value, please, in the context of what Sudev is saying in Krishna consciousness and spirituality, because I feel very unqualified to say more than that at this point, and I really want to engage with the panel and with you, because I think it's such a beautiful subject. And I'd really like to hear from people, from from those of you who had struck a chord with it. I know it struck a chord with me. It's my Achilles heel. It's the thing I always come back to, and it blocks me as well. So from experience, I'm working on that, you know, on a daily basis in the past 6 months. So I really appreciate that very much. So anybody from the panel, please, if you'd like to, Brajanath Prabhu, Bhagavat Maharaj, Lalita, Budara Prabhu. Bhagavat Pandit, if he's here.
Maybe, Dilip Prabhu, maybe you want to summarize what Sudevi has said in a question.
I want to get some insight from maybe what Gurudev said about self-love, or, you know, some of the panel when you've, you know, been dealing with that yourselves, you know, how you combine that with bhakti, because Sudevi is talking about self-love, but not in isolation, because without Gurudev, being connected to Gurudev, you know, that's not really what you're talking about, is it, Sudevi? It's like, but the root of the story is self-love, but it's only when it's connected with Guru Parampara. So
yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, with the purpose of being able to go deeper spiritually.
Yes.
Just because I noticed that when I'm not connected to myself, even if I'm chanting a lot, it doesn't have the same effect. It doesn't have the same sense of connection.
Yes, that's it. So self-love leads to deeper, you know, bhakti and bhajan. So anything around deepening Sudevi's bhajan, mindful of that issue of self-love being a, you know, fundamental challenge.
Philip, a very simple point for Sudevi.
Please.
Hi, Sudevi.
Hi.
Dandavat. Just a really simple point. When I feel disconnected from myself, and as someone who feels quite connected to myself a lot of the time, when I feel disconnected, it's like, whoa, what just happened? It's kind of like I just crashed the car, if you know what I mean. Which is a correct metaphor, because the soul is existing inside of a subtle body, inside of a gross body. So you are actually driving a vehicle, if you like, as a soul. The first go-to thing I do when I'm disconnected is, well, actually I do a couple of things, but the thing I wanted to mention was I look for some seva to do for someone else in relation to parampara. As soon as I do that, Tarun said something very beautiful at the beginning, how he was taught love is giving rather than taking. As soon as I serve someone else without any agenda of my own whatsoever, and there's always seva to be done. I mean, crikey, you know, as long as you know another living entity, doesn't even have to be a human, there's seva to be done. And as soon as I identify some seva, however menial, and engage in that seva in a meditative fashion, in other words, I'm not doing some charitable pious act, I'm doing something as an act of my core values, which is to learn from my Gurudev how he served his whole life, and how his guru served his whole life, how they gave body, mind, and soul and everything to service. And when I engage in that way, with that intent, usually within one act of service, maximum 2 acts of service, I'm back in connection.
Thank you, Sridhanandan. That's very helpful, actually. Really, really helpful, and a nice thing to meditate on. And it's, I think I'm gonna look for some service that inspires me in that way.
And today it's easy. I mean, it can be as simple as you know, doing something for a loved one. It doesn't necessarily have to be epic service. It can be very basic.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I'm going to apply that.
Calling
and that's probably a good way to...
Calling your dad up and telling him you love him.
I can see him laughing.
I don't know how we're going to do this, but at some point I'd love to know, when you're at that point, what your seva could be. I'd love to hear about it.
Okay.
That's an inquiry. And you know, when you say you're going to do something, you let people know that you've done it.
Yeah.
It keeps you on track. So I personally would love to know, whenever that time is, that you're inquiring into that, and this is what you're understanding, and this is where you are, because that
Okay.
could really open up a lot. And it's what's nice about it is it takes courage. It means you're in action, and you're, you know, considering and putting the self-love challenge into your chanting, and it all is in harmony together. If you can see all those components of what you said, it's courage, action, and at the root of it is your own barrier and Achilles heel of self-love. So that can all come together. And by letting us know, or me know at least, in a period of time, it could be 3 months, it could be 3 weeks. I'd really love to know about that, because that means that I'll be able to close that loop with you. Because
Okay.
that's one of the things I'm thinking is, how do we keep this alive? We're talking about precious things. This is really important. Somebody else from the panel.
Dilip, 1 second. I'm very excited because I'd actually written Sudevi's name down on a piece of paper twice before I spoke. There's 2 bits of savor that I think are perfect for you. One which I'll talk to you about privately, but the other one is Kamala online from British Columbia. Kamala, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, Kamala, I'm glad I didn't catch you napping. That's good. Now, you two are amazing for each other. Yeah, I won't tell the panel, the whole group what you're doing, but the discussion we had the other day that you were going to do with your friend who wasn't so keen on doing it because, for whatever reason, so Davey would be amazing to do that with.
Awesome, wonderful.
And you two would be absolutely brilliant together. I know it sounds a little bit mysterious, but Kamala has a great idea. So Davey, you two could serve beautifully together. So anyway, without any expectations, the 2 of you connect up. So Davey, if you give me permission, I can give you her your number and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. Sounds good.
You're fantastic. And I really sense something could really brew there. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
And if that wasn't enough, so David, I'd also like to talk to you about some things. I've got some ideas for you for savor that you may or may not, you know, it might be like, and by the way, you're there to discern, is this right for me? Is this not right for me? So there's no pushing towards this. It's just that you've literally let the cat out of the bag now, and somehow something is moving really, really immediately, which is not surprising. But I hope you're okay. We're not overwhelming you, I hope.
No,
Okay?
not at all. No,
Good.
I love this sort of thing.
Wonderful. I'd like to hear from one more person, please, on the panel before we speak with somebody else. I'd really appreciate if there's anybody else from the panel that would like to say something, and if not, that's fine, of course.
Dilip Prabhu,
Yes, Brajanath, Prabhu.
I think let's just see maybe anyone in the audience wants to say something. If the panel doesn't want to say or feel shy, maybe there's anyone in the audience, yeah, who would like to say something.
Okay. Anybody participating would like to say something in response to Sudevi as an offering of support or an insight, a comment? Just jump straight in.
Haribol Saveshri, did he wants to say something?
Wonderful, please.
Haribol Sudevi.
Haribol, nice to hear from you.
Yes. It was just when you were talking about the dream, and it reminded me that sometimes in a dream, we're given a glimpse. And you were talking about the feeling that you experienced during the dream of connectedness. And I wondered if it was that you were given this glimpse of what that actually feels like. So in your waking moment, if you experience something and you have that feeling, then you're able to recognize it. And then it's tangible. You're able to hold on to it when you feel it through your chanting, through your service, through whatever. But you've actually had that experience and are having that experience because you said it's quite frequent. And so that would, just thinking from my own experiences, I have similar dreams that come back. And I always see them as a glimpse of what's possible, but in some way I'm blocking in waking. But then if it comes through in my waking, I recognize it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I wondered, if that resonated with you, if you thought that could be something that it is giving you a glimpse.
I haven't thought that, but I'm really happy that you said that. I'd got as far as realizing that that was a sort of prayer of mine, was to kind of bring that sense of connection into the waking world, in the same way that when you have a dream of Gurudev, he's just suddenly there and you're suddenly connected, and that almost to bring that the infinite possibility of dreaming, where you can instantly connect to Gurudev and you can reach these deeper spaces inside of yourself, to bring that somehow into my waking life. But I hadn't considered what you said. I did have one experience once that was sort of like a dream and gave me this really strong sense of connection. And at that time I did think like, oh, I feel like I'm being given a taste of this so that I know what to look for. But the way that you just said it is really helpful, because it makes me think of a couple moments when I was doing some service in the waking world, and it gave me that same feeling. So thank you for like providing that roadmap, because now I can now I can go like, oh yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to recognize this as like a marker, so that when I feel that again, then I know I'm on the right track.
Yes, it's that recognition. And you have it now.
Thank you for bringing that to light.
Okay.
We could talk a lot about this with you. It's wonderful to speak with you, Sudevi, and I look forward to more conversations. Last thing I want to say about this is that, what I learned from your dad last year, especially, was to always look for the highest ideals. Budara Prabhu's got so much to contribute to us. And one of the things he taught me was to always look for the highest ideals. And I think you have that in your beautiful dream and your landscape. It's just ideal. And why would we settle and want to have anything less than that in our lives? And he really touched my heart with that. So, thank you so much for being so open with us, taking the time. You speak beautifully, by the way, so poetically. So nice to be able to talk with you and get to the central nervous system of at least the the thing to work on. And hopefully that's given you something to reflect on. And as Nanda Prabhu said about your seva, we'll find a way to tie that all in without it being a formula. It's like an inquiry. It's like, what would my seva be? What touches my heart? And not
that's a whole journey in itself.
Out so much, but this is it, isn't it? But there's a lovely thread between self-love, courage, action, seva, Gurudev in the center, and this beautiful dream that just wraps it all up. And if I could experience that in my daily life, why would I want to settle or aim for anything less, even though it's majorly challenging to do even a bit of that? But why not?
Thank you so much to everyone. This has been very encouraging and insightful and like illuminating, and kind of created some clarity for me to, I guess, pray, meditate, and reflect towards.
We've got two more.
Let's go.
Non-panelists, but who want to offer something to say. So first, we're going to hear from Madhuri Didi from the States, who also wants to respond to what Sudevi has been saying.
Does that mean I'm on? How do you vote?
Yes, it does. Hari Bol Dandavats.
So I totally second the concept of seva. I have a couple of things to say about it, and that is one thing that I haven't heard anybody mention that feels key to me is seva Seva is not solitary. I mean, we may be doing service, but everything keys in through relationship. That's the whole bhakti path is based on relationship. So when one looks, you're talking about relating with yourself. Yourself is more than yourself. Yourself is a community. Yourself is your dream. Yourself is all of these visions that you have. Yes, patterning and recognizing where that comes up, but you're already doing seva and recognizing where in your natural life you are engaged in such a way that makes you feel good. That's part of the patterning that you can weave in. But also the people that inspire you, just the interactions, even if it's a brief interaction and you're not really even knowing someone, but that interaction gives you enough feedback to sort of give you that stasis, that vibration, because there's a sound to it, there's a feel to it, there's a texture, a taste, all of these things. And if you ask Gurudev for that, he'll make it present for you. If you ask Gurudev, please help me understand when I'm in that slip channel, when I'm in the slipstream, and this is all moving in the direction, he'll give you all of those bits of guidance. He'll actually allow you to see and feel where those things come up that make you feel connected.
Thank you so much. That's a really, really empowering just angle to take, and also another thing that I really needed to hear today. So thank you.
We're going to hear from Jagannathan Didi just before we move on to our next person. Haribol, Jagannathan? Okay, she did want to offer something.
You're muted, yeah.
Oh, Haribol Sudevi.
Okay.
Haribol Jagannathan.
Hi, so nice to hear from you. And you. Thank you. You expressed yourself so beautifully. I was very enlivened. My heart just opened up when I heard your dream, and I just felt the beauty of it, the wildness of it, and that sense of really connecting to that wild and beautiful and creative self. It was just so beautiful. And I'm just sitting here thinking, you know, I'm so often disconnected, but I find that when I go to my chanting sometimes, and I think of Srimati Radhika, because she's that loving, compassionate personality. And you know, that she's just so kind to us. And sometimes there's nobody else I can go to. And I just think of the Hare and the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And, you know, it's sometimes described in the scriptures how even with the Manjari, she's like a mother sometimes, or they feel like she's like mother to them sometimes. So I don't know, that's just, not that I follow that all the time, but that's just what came to me tonight. Thank you so much for your beautiful description.
Thank you for sharing that very intimate meditation as well. And also, you're right. I feel like when self-love is an issue, she's the one to kind of teach us how to love ourselves from the ground up, so that we can, you know, she is love. So I don't really know how to put it into words, but I really connect to what you just said, Jagannathan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
I'm going to take a risk here, because I think that's the name of the game. There's a beautiful, somebody said in the chat, to just before you finish, if you haven't had enough already, Sudevi, but one of the devotees said so perfectly about your Pushpanjali. I'm going to ask that devotee if he'd like to speak, to say what he felt, and if not, I will. But I want to give that person a chance to speak if they want to. You can see it in the chat, but please don't feel in any kind of pressure to do it. And I'm very happy to speak if you don't want to. Okay, so it's what I wanted to say was I was on the Gurudev, sorry, on Sunday morning. You know, when you spoke, was it about a month ago?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I had to stop in the street to listen to what you were saying. I was listening on my headphones, and I just want to echo what Prabhu was saying on the chat, that, you know, part of your seva could be speaking, you know, Harikatha, because you speak, you know, with all your heart, you know, in your relationship with Gurudev. So I would just echo that could be also part of your seva to consider. I don't know how that would link in, but it's beautifully said.
Thank you so much to both of you, because that's really very encouraging and kind of resonates with that same landscape feeling that I have.
And I also remember you saying at the beginning of that, Pushpanjali, how it took something for you to actually speak, because, you know, it takes courage to do it. But, you know, when you take action like this, you see who you are for other people. So
thank you so much.
Really, yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. This is definitely Gurudev answering a letter I wrote to him this morning. All of your responses it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Haribol, we're gonna move up north to a friend of mine from Birmingham, who is known as Jess, or rather Didi, Radharani Didi, sometimes from her Instagram. And yes, she's very sweet. I'm gonna hand over to her if she's still here.
Hi, Haribol, I'm still here, guys.
Haribol.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. My screen is frozen. Oh, okay, there we go. It's all frozen now.
I can see you, I can hear you really well. Keep the screen there, it's fantastic.
Awesome. So, do you want to take it away, or should I just dive into it?
I would love you to jump straight in. I think you just go for it.
Okay, so the main thing that is kind of weighing on my shoulders is a balance, because at the moment I'm studying for my bachelor's degree in fine art at university, and I'm in my second year now, so, you know, it's getting a bit heated and really intense. But yeah, the balance between not getting overwhelmed with so much work and kind of taking the time for myself to, you know, for one, remember to chant, and, you know, find time to read, and yeah. So that's my main qualm at the moment.
Yeah, very clear. So it's finding the balance. And what's getting heated is specifically you're doing fine art. Where's the heating up?
Okay, so my project at the moment is self-directed. So we get to choose what we want to do. I'm predominantly a sculpture artist, but I have a lot of interest in painting and photography. And I started off doing sound art for this term, and I was doing, you know, my spin on what mantra meditation is. And so I was recording myself and everything. And then I kind of had like this, I don't know, this kind of like realization that is a really intimate thing. And do I really want to like showcase it to like people that aren't like-minded at my university? Yes. I still, the art I'm doing now still has connotations of Krishna consciousness and a devoted life. So I guess that's kind of a bit of a stress, but the main thing is just, you know, essays and general university work.
workload.
Yeah.
Understand. So it's
And
balance. After you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I also live in a house with amazing friends that I've met, and I couldn't be happier with the people that I'm living with. But they are non-devotees, and they are meat eaters as well. But you know, they're not rejecting the fact I'm a devotee or an aspiring devotee, and they're not, you know, they're not being ignorant and you know, being like, oh, I don't care. Like
No,
they
I
are.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the thing of, you know, when you're around like-minded people, you have a stronger sense.
Yeah.
So,
and so very well said. I appreciate it so much. So two things. One is balance, to you know, to be able to chant and bring your practices and combine that with your everyday life of workload. Right now it's year 2 of fine arts. There's a lot. And then the other is just how do you you know, manage when you like your friends and they're good people, but how do you manage that relationship as well? I'd love to hear from the panel about that, by the way, of how their experiences. What does balance mean to you then? What would be ideal for you in terms of balance? What would be, just describe it to us. What does balance mean?
Would just, you know, being able to wake up at, I don't know, the crack of dawn to just, you know, get everything that I need to do spiritually in there before my day starts.
Yeah. So what time would that be ideally for you?
I mean, I usually wake up at 7, and recently I've started going on runs with my friend, and that really gets, like, not only like literally but metaphorically the blood pumping for the rest of the day.
Yes.
And really gets me like, yes, I can do it. I can, like, you know, I can do my day. But also in other ways, when I've started my day and, you know, I've chanted and done different things, and that's given like the same effect pretty much. It like sets the bar, you know.
Yeah, be great to do both.
Pardon?
It'd be great to do both, right? To chant and to go for your run
at the same time.
Maybe. So what we're talking about, 6 till 7:30, 5 till 8. What is that period of time you're talking about where you'd like to have those practices? Is that the time frame you're thinking?
The thing is, everyone that I live with usually doesn't wake up till about 10. So
sounds like that early in a student household.
Yeah. That's like my kind of time to, I don't know, just walk around the house and get done what I need to get done.
Nice. Okay. Good. Well, it's clear. So the challenge is balance. And, you know, I'd love to hear, there's so many things I could say, but I'd love to hear from the panel, please, about balance. I know I've got a lot of support from people on this thing, and I think this will resonate with so many people. So anybody on the panel, or anybody as well, as Brajanath said, would like to respond to this, please.
This Radha, is it? Radha?
Hello, yeah, hi.
Haribol, Dandavat. Nice to meet you, as it were.
And you.
Very, very simple, very, very simple thing, which I'm working on all the time, actually, is that your day, this is something that Tridandi Maharaj impressed upon me a long time ago. Your next day starts the day before. So actually it starts from the last time. Well, okay, I'll speak for me, because you'll have a different metabolism, a different way of working. You know, maybe you're a night owl, I don't know, but
definitely not.
That's good. That's good. It's helpful not to be an night owl.
Yeah.
What I personally find is if I don't eat after 6 o'clock in the evening, and I am in bed personally by 10, which I'm not achieving very well at the moment. But I actually even preferably 9:30. This may be too early as a cycle for you. You might go 11 and wake up at 6 or something. I don't know how many hours sleep you need, but if you work backwards from how many hours sleep do you need a night to be really fresh?
Need and want. I'd probably need about like 7 or 8, but I would want like 1 million.
1 million. Well, I don't think we're going to achieve that, but,
Yeah,
but let's go for the 8 hours.
7 or 8.
Okay. And have you ever heard how the hours before midnight are worth double the hours after?
No.
Right. So if you're asleep at 10, the hours of 10 to 11, 11, 12 are worth double than if you went to bed at midnight and those hours.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not quite sure what the biological reason for that is, but I've definitely experienced it. I've been told it. So if you go to bed, at the same time, the body loves regulation. Body loves to do the same thing every day. So whatever suits you. I don't want to give you some kind of identikit formula. It's more of a principle. If you set yourself a goal, I'm going to go to bed at this time every night, and then work backwards from that, which is therefore I'm going to eat the last time at this time, which gives your body time to wind down, digest, to be ready for sleep. And also the other thing is, especially in this age, and especially given the age that you are, all social media and phones, I'm going to stop doing that by this time. You just bring those 3 things into play. Last time I eat, last time I look at any digital communication, and what time I'm going to go to sleep, and then work it from there. Then you'll get up really fresh. You'll be able to do the run and the chanting one after the other beautifully, and you'll be able to put that all into your fine art, and you're going to get a first.
Oh, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Budara Prabhu would like to say something, please. Budara Prabhu.
Yeah, just a couple thoughts. I myself am now in the middle of a big project, and I've organized my day around the project. So I get up and I do my sadhana. I do a bit of exercise, and then I'm at my project, and I'm there for, let's say, 6 solid hours a day. One of the things that I find helpful, and it even inspires me from a creative point of view, because what I'm working on is a creative project, is when I take a break. So I actually use a system where I'm working 25 minutes on and taking 5 minutes off, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. So what I do in that break, I oftentimes get my bead back out and chant around. And it adds up through the day. It's not like a concentrated japa session in the morning, which gives you a very, very different feeling, but it's a way to connect in, and I find it's very helpful to keep that creative flow. In fact, like bhakti is the most creative, Krishna is the most beautiful, really. So that's one thing. Someone else said that. Well, I'll come on to that in a minute. Another thing that I've experienced is that, and I'm sure everyone here has experienced it, that when you neglect your Nam Bhajan, you have to live a day that you feel like you're a 2-dimensional character on a piece of paper. Whereas when you really invest in that energy of bhajan and connection, you feel 3-dimensional or 4-dimensional. Your whole being comes alive, and you're connected with your intuition, and things just tend to go a lot easier. So I like to Yasodhanandan's practical suggestions. They work for me too. But one of the things that I like to lead with, because I have a rebellious nature. And so if I try to force my mind into a particular space, my mind just wants to reject the rules that I've just set for it.
Yeah, I feel that.
I know, and creative people, I think, are kind of like that, right? It's like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do what I want to do now, right?
I want to take my own path, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially...
so one of the things I'm thinking is just that take that positive orientation that I want to feel like this. And you know, I want to walk in my day. I want to sit at my projects, my creative work, and I want to have that kind of insight and inspiration and that energy. So that's the goal, right? Is to operate at that multidimensional level of reality. So if you allow your mind to be informed by that, then the planning kind of follows on from that. You won't want to neglect those precious moments that help create that for yourself in the morning. And then the last thing I'll say is, I think it was Bhagavad Maharaj who said it in one of his classes recently, that Prabhupada was chanting his japa in his room in Los Angeles one day. And it got to the point where he finished his japa, and he put his bead bag on his desk, and he said, you know, something like, my rounds are done. Now I can do any damned thing. And so, you know, when you chant, it's actually, it gives us the strength, the Shakti to kind of go through whatever it is that we have to go through. So that's maybe another thing to kind of think about. Nice little meditation on Prabhupada, you know, fortifying himself, pure devotee, but fortifying himself with chanting. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Haribol.
Who else would like to say something about this, please? I think somebody in the chat, I can't see it. Diva
That was me,
like
yes.
something? Please.
If I could just jump in. Hello, Haribol, everybody. I just wanted to add to what Yashodananda Prabhu was saying about the sleeping times, because Ayurvedically they say that different parts of the day arise in certain doshas. So certain energetics are at a high at certain times of the day. So from 10 to 2 a.m., 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is your pitta hours. So this is when the body is rejuvenating itself and curing all of the, and digesting and curing itself as well. So rejuvenating all of its cells. So if we don't sleep before 10 o'clock, all the energy that should be going into digesting is then keep going into our body staying awake. So that's why also sometimes we get a high burst of energy at night, is because the pitta is then rising. So instead of telling the body to go to sleep and rejuvenate, we have all of this excess energy that we're staying awake, but it's a waste of energy. That's why also you see at about 3 o'clock, which is when the pitta is going into the vata hours, we suddenly become really creative and, you know, we want to do all these crazy things. But that's the time that, you know, that a lot of the dreams also come in. And that's why they also say to wake up before 6 o'clock in your vata hour. And that's a really great time for devotion and devotional practices and spiritual practices, which is usually the time before sunrise, to then connect with your spirit self and do some writing, do some meditation, do your japa in that hour. So maybe a suggestion to you, Jess, is that's really been working for me, is to kind of understand what the energy flow during the day is, and then how to balance that out in my own daily routine, as well as just, you know, putting down things as non-negotiables. Like I write and I do my japa in the morning, and those are non-negotiables. Whether I have half like shower is negotiable at this point for me, because I shower at night. I'm like, okay, I have to write and have to do my japa, but just figuring out the times to do these things is really helpful, because then it's giving you the right energy flow to do that, rather than you fighting yourself.
Yeah.
Wow. Tarun.
Thank you,
Tarun. Tarun, you there? I think we just found our person to present on the health for holistic bhakti. That was fantastic.
Oh, I wish.
Are you an Ayurvedic? Are you a specialist in Ayurveda, Diva?
I wish. Hopefully, I'll get there one day. But there's just so much to learn. I've been studying it. Just my interest, my personal interest, has just grown over the past year. So just been self-studying and reading some books and meeting some practitioners back in India to really understand ourselves.
You explain it really, really nicely.
Really well.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for stepping in. Where are you, by the way? Are you in India? Are you here?
No, I'm in London.
London. Oh,
Here being London. Yes.
lovely. Great. Thank you so much.
She's on our she's a star on our Sankirtans on Saturday. Her and Lavanga do amazing dances, and they're like
wonderful.
amazing.
I must say, yeah, you
thank you
so beautifully, so beautifully. I'm so happy.
Thank you.
Meet you. What's really nice is you see the support that we have for each other is just, you know, so nice to hear. Tarun Prabhu.
We are going to read a very brief but nice message from Madhavrat Prabhu, German Madhavrat Prabhu, because we have two Madhavrat Prabhu, two very, very sweet and elevated disciples of Srila Gurudev.
Yes.
He says, read Ramayana before Ram and Lakshman protect our sleep and dreams. That's a nice one on the subject of sleeping.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, and on a personal level, I don't read Ramayana before bed, but when I sleep better, sometimes instead of going on my phone before bed, which is a terrible habit that I have, and I'm sure a lot of young people also have it, I listen to Sri Chaitanya, you're laughing, maybe you resonate. I listen to Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, the audiobook on YouTube, and that really puts me in a good space. Or sometimes I listen to Sri Jaiva Dharma on YouTube, and there's many other audio recordings. Different devotees from different sanghas have done recordings of Srila Prabhupada's books and different granthas that you can find online. I listen to them before bed. Sometimes they kind of merge into my dreams in a slightly, sometimes surreal, sometimes almost transcendental way. So yeah, that's my personal thing. I don't know if Brajanath Prabhu wants to say something about maintaining that balance that you've highlighted, Jess, about between your work or occupational life and your sadhana bhakti. I don't know if you have anything to add, Brajanath Prabhu, but if you do, we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, thank you, Tarun Prabhu. Yeah, I love to hear, and I'm very inspired how all of us are supporting each other. And really, the process, what we are now sharing with each other, it becomes like a beautiful, I would say, personal offering to our Gurudev, to Sri Krishna, when we see that bhakti is something that we can integrate with 24 hours a day. Yeah. Our Gurudev said that try to do something in connection with Krishna throughout the day, 24 hours a day. Like we heard, we can do a little seva. Sudevi was very nicely inviting that area, that the connection that we desire to experience, that we feel sometimes is not there, can be beautifully integrated if we discover the different ways how we can do seva. Like seva is also remembering. Just remembering is a seva, and it is a beautiful and easy process. It's not that when we remember our Gurudev or we remember something beautiful about our heroes, they may be Ram, they may be Lakshman, but I think in our case, we have so many heroes that are our spiritual masters, especially. It's bhakti. It is not that there is any difference. Rather, it is the most beautiful form of bhakti when we can involve our heart and mind with a particular seva. We may be doing other things with our hands. And even one of the most beautiful advices that our Gurudev always was very, very, very gracious, and also very, very frequently giving us, was that how in Braj, which is like in Braj, all the devotees in Braj, all the inhabitants of Braj, they cannot forget Krishna. And Gurudev gave the advice, whatever you do, and people may say you are this or that, but there is a beautiful way to integrate or to connect with ourselves when we simply start to remember this. Yeah, Govinda Damo Dharma Daviti. Govinda Damo Dharma Daviti. In any situation, we can chant that softly or loudly. When we are with others, we may do it softly. But this is part of the inner real relation that we are cultivating with Sri Krishna, with Sri Guru, with the Vaishnavas, with our real home. Yeah. And that is always very close by. And by mantra, or we can even simply pray a little mantra to Gurudev. Yeah. Always there is an opportunity. And if we cannot pray Gurudev, so then do something else, go shopping or do something and connect it with Krishna, connect it with bhakti, yeah, with the spiritual realm. And this way we see, I have noticed in my experience that the days just go by without any difficulty, without any effort. And we feel that, oh, I have gained something. I have progressed and I want to share that with others. And that is our opportunity this evening, that we can do that with each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Can you chant that? Govinda Damo Dharma Daviti?
Right
No.
now?
No, but you know that beautiful
Oh, yeah.
song. It's a beautiful song. It comes directly from,
Yeah.
and it is very dear to our acharyas. It is gopis who are constantly singing it.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you. I will.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jess. Now, Jess, you had two parts to your question, was also with the people in your house who are not devotees, meat eating. I think I'd love to hear from the panel also about, that's a big theme for us, you know. I'd love to get from the panel, from anybody, about that dynamic and that relationship with people who are, you know, in that situation. I think it'd be nice to hear some responses to that, please.
I find it very beautiful that you have so much appreciation for them and not looking at what they don't do correct, but looking at the beauty in the relationship that you have with them, that you appreciate each other. That is very, very beautiful, that is there between you and that it's coming from a very honest place within you. Don't judge the environment for what they may not do exactly what I think, but really it is about the beauty of the interaction that is with respect and affection. And if we have a beautiful conviction within us that we want that benefit, then there will definitely, Krishna will create opportunities that we can give them a little extra beautiful insight into the opportunities that life offers us to improve our spiritual wealth, to improve our spiritual knowledge. Give them a book or anything, or simply invite them, give them prasadam. Yeah, you cook, whether they know it or not, they get benefited. Yeah.
I do speak to them about the Gita and stuff, and when one of my friends was going through a really, really tough time, I just was like, oh, let me just read you something. And I didn't plan what I was going to read. I just turned to a random page in the Gita. And then we spoke about it and we discussed it. And I think a few sparks and a little light bulb went on inside his head. But for some people, it's very daunting to, especially if you have no idea at all what Krishna consciousness entails. So I feel like for some people it's very daunting to make that initial like divulge into how to, you know, live, or just to be open about it. But yeah.
Your friendship and your affection, that will make them become inquisitive. That is the most important in helping anyone. If we cannot offer that beautiful thing which we all have, I want to be your friend, Not with I want something from you, I want to help you. Yeah, with that mood, even without saying, people will notice that. And living together, you cannot say, oh, I want to live only with those who are pure. Yeah, in our heart, we can create that space. But in the world, we are destined to be with so many living entities. And if we can be kind-hearted and offer our affection without judgment, then certainly we will win their sympathy and we can give them a little extra encouragement. You have a beautiful opportunity there.
Yeah.
We support you. Srila Prabhupada, when he came to, he was ready. But when he came to Western world, how he lived with those who were drinking, taking drugs, but he had full faith that they will improve by giving them my full affection and love and that sharing with them prasadam, everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy to hear that you have such a beautiful courage to do
Oh,
that.
thank you.
To be positive.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
I'm just gonna
Haribol,
message yeah, go ahead.
we're just gonna hear from Yashashwini, Didi, and then we're gonna go on to the next question
Let's just
from
check the
someone
time
else.
as well, Prabhu. I mean,
Because
I'm very comfortable to carry on till 10 like we did last week, and just wanted to acknowledge that if people have to go, we appreciate that, you know, some of you going. I think we're going to carry on till 10. Is that right?
Yes, I think we have no choice with all the enthusiasm.
Wonderful.
Okay, Yashashwini.
Yashashwini, we'd love to hear from you.
Haribol, Hare Krishna, Jess.
Haribol, Krishna.
Nice to meet you.
And you.
Yeah, I'm always very busy as well, so I can really relate to that. And what I find, two things I find really helpful, because we want to connect with Krishna, and we think when I have that time in the morning, oh, it definitely will help you relate to Krishna. But even through the day, we can actually turn the fact that we can't do something for Krishna through the day into connecting with Krishna by feeling that separation. So you can speak to Krishna through the day. You can say, oh, help me do my work so that I can actually get to you sooner. Oh, I really wish I could be there and chant more or be with the devotees more. So you can actually make that link through the day.
Yeah.
Not in the positive way, but in the seemingly negative way, but it makes that link and you're connecting. Yeah. And the other thing I find is that when you've only got a certain time in the morning, rather than try to fit in more, say more chanting or more reading, but try to do a small amount of reading, but really put it into your head so that you remember it. And you can take that with you through the day and think about it, rather than read more and we don't remember anything.
Yeah, it will resonate better, right?
That's right. And the same with your chanting. If you chant, really try to connect that this holy name is actually a person, and there's a person listening to me, and I'm trying to make a relationship with Krishna and with the sadhus who brought this message. And if you can do those two things, and that will also help you for the memory through the day, so you can keep connecting like that. Yeah. Because ultimately, Krishna consciousness is about connection. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. That was great advice. Thank you.
Haribol.
Yashashwini.
Thank you so much.
Yashashwini.
Yes.
Can I just add something to your beautiful words?
Absolutely.
Which is to remind, well, I'm reminding myself while I say this. So Radha, when you are reading, as Yashashwini is advising, prior to you reading, always pray to the person who wrote it, that you're at their lotus feet, drinking the words from their lotus mouth. Because that's how you get the connection, the mood of the Shastra.
Yeah. It did help when Yashashwini said, you know, read a little bit and kind of comprehend it, because I feel like sometimes when I read, it just goes in one ear and out the other, and it's kind of hard to like intake so much information, and Sometimes I feel like hopeless really when I do it, and so that actually helped a lot for visualization.
Can I tell one more thing about that? There was a very famous story about a sadhu who was very sincere in his heart, wanted to love the Lord, and he actually couldn't read, but his teacher had told him to read the Bhagavad Gita. So he would put it on the stand and he would try his best, but actually he couldn't say it properly. And the teachers, who were very, very expert, they would laugh at him and they would say, oh my God, he's trying, look, he's so stupid. But then actually he was crying one day and Lord Chaitanya came along and he asked him, oh, which verse is making you cry? And he said, actually, I don't really understand any of the verses, but when I see the picture, the Supreme Lord is taking the position as a charioteer for his devotee and serving him, it makes me cry. And Lord Chaitanya said, you have understood every word of the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. Oh, that's really beautiful.
Haribol.
Well, okay, we're gonna move on because we're short on time and we still have some questions. I don't know if we're gonna get them all answered, but before we go to questions, we're going to just hear something quickly from Badara Prabhu wants to make some statement.
Yeah, very, very quickly, I'm going to excuse myself from the meeting because I'm taking Diva's advice seriously now. I don't want to be awake when my pitta starts. But just to share something with you that I think is really appropriate to what's going on tonight, especially, but in general at these holistic bhakti meetings. Someone sent me a podcast link and a devotee, and I listened to it. And it's by a Quaker was speaking, a really learned man. And he pointed out that one of the things that our culture completely is lacking in is the creation of a sacred space of community where people can open their hearts and reveal their souls to each other in a mood of seeking help and support and offering help and support where needed. And when I heard that, it just kind of, a real bell went off in my head, and I thought, hey, that's holistic bhakti, and that's the harmony classes, and that's what we're doing. And I think it's just really been demonstrated tonight by everybody's exchanges. So I just want to leave you with that little thought. What a great job everyone's doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and giving your support. So yes, we're going to move quickly on because we are short on time, and we want to follow Diva Diddy's comprehensive analysis of what time we should be in bed. But we are going to actually move back to her because she has a question for a panel members. Sorry.
Jess, thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Haribol. Thank you, everyone, for your amazing advice. I appreciate it so much.
It's so beautiful to listen to you and to engage with you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you,
So,
and you.
Taran Prabhu, sorry, I just wanted to thank Jess.
Yes. Thank you, Jess. And yes, Jess has Brahmananda Prabhu is asking if she's the daughter of one Vaishnavi, but actually Jess met devotees when she was 13 at school, and there's not many devotees up north, I think, these days. So yes, Jess is just so approachable. I found in our personal interactions, and a really wonderful artist. So if you want to engage with her, you want to collaborate, do some service with her, I know
I'm sure I'll give you my contact details if anyone wants them. Just message him and just message me. Always open to new friends. Thank you.
Birmingham's not up north, by the way, but it's Midlands. That is so London.
Yeah, your honesty and your spirit and your approachability, even on Zoom, is so apparent for all of us. We're just so touched by your, opening your heart with us. We're really, really touched by you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Haribol.
Haribol.
Okay, Haribol, we're gonna move to yes, back to London to Diva. Yes, you're still here. Haribol.
I'm still here. Haribol, it's me again.
Great.
I had a question that I've been struggling with in my self-inquiry for a while. I wrote it down so I don't forget. So I have a self-sabotaging tendency. When things are going well, I tend to stop, or sometimes I just sabotage it to make it go wrong. I find this a lot in my Hatha yoga practice. My bhakti yoga practice is very, very, very fresh. So it still hasn't been at the receiving end of me trying to sabotage it yet. But I don't know.
How fresh is it, by the way?
The actual practice of it, I would only say with serious devotion and intention, December. So 3 months.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's been around in my ambit for some time. So, but the practice of it, the intentional practice of it, it's only really been since December. So I know what's good for me. I know what I need to do, and I don't sometimes just do it. So I find that I go into these downward spirals where I feel not so great. I know what I need to do better, but I just sabotage myself in that situation and then just keep going down, 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 down. And then when I come back up, it's just feeling like I have to start all over again. I feel like I'm afraid of good things. Like I'm afraid of things going well, because then what? Then what after that? And the thing, it feels sort of comfortable and familiar for things to not be great. And this also goes for certain relationships. If I feel like some certain relationship is potentially blossoming, I just cut ties. Yeah, I think I'm afraid of being happy. And I don't know why, and I haven't been able to figure out why. And I think that's my question. Why would you think? And yeah, I find it hard.
What is the question, by the way?
Why do you think I have this, or we, because I'm obviously not isolated in this, is that we have this self-sabotaging nature that we don't, and we're afraid of things going well. What?
Yeah.
Yes, what's your insight?
Yeah, well, I'm going to hear from, I'd love to hear, I can imagine a lot of people. Sorry, did you finish?
I'm done, thank you.
Interrupt you at the end.
No, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to say something, but I'd love to hear from the panel, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate to this. I'm going to call it something for you to consider. It's a belief that you have, that, first of all, to call it something, it's a belief, it's a thought that you have to start with. And then we can talk about, it being part of our conditioning and part of, what it is to be a human being. But I'd also like to open it to the panel for their different views and dimensions of this is a very, very beautiful, well, not beautiful for you necessarily, but a very important subject. I think these themes that were being brought up, I can really relate to that. So from the panel, from many other people, could you please speak to this? I'd really appreciate it. Yes, you should, Nanda. I could see you moving. I just assumed I was going to call on you, but
it feels like 1995 all over again.
I had you in mind before the question was finished.
This question's like amazing question. I think there are about 12 answers to it. But like any good feedback, which is always for oneself as well as the person you're speaking to, good to keep it simple and to one point so it's not overwhelming. So what I'm about to explain will resonate for some people, and for other people it'll be like Chinese. It really depends on where you are on this particular subject matter, but it's in the heart of the Bhagavatam. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Kapila Dev. It's pretty extensive.
Yeah.
If you look at Sankhya philosophy, which bhaktas recognize as valid, as long as it's used in service of bhakti, you'll understand that we're basically souls in a foreign environment. So you're an eternal soul, I'm an eternal soul. And you drive, by the way.
I ride a bicycle or a bike, but I don't drive.
So the metaphor doesn't quite work, but if Badara is online, he would attest to the fact I'm a terrible driver. But
so am I.
I mean, I'm great. For me, I love it behind the wheel, but no one else seems to like it. But the point is, in order for me to have even gotten on the road, I had to pass a driving test, which I passed the second time round when the instructor told me you're passed, but by a Volvo. You can imagine why he said that. The point being is that when we're given our bodies, our subtle body and our gross body, we don't take a driving test. We just inhabit them. And actually, half the time we're pushing levers. We don't know what the levers are. You don't get in a car and think and not know where the gear stick is. Half the time, as a soul, we don't even know what the gear stick is, let alone where it is, right? So using this metaphor, the mechanics of the subtle body are that we're a pure soul emanating pure consciousness. And when the pure consciousness mixes with the modes of material nature, i.e. the material world, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance, it becomes chitta, i.e. conditioned consciousness. And the conditioned consciousness, think of it like a lake. It can be a tumultuous lake or it can be a calm lake. And in that lake, if you like, reside the false ego, the mind, and the intelligence. They have different functions. The false ego enables the soul to identify with this world. Without the false ego, you wouldn't be able to relate to anything in this world. So it allows you to see the world through a materialistic conception. That's why it's called a false ego. The mind, it's a bit tricky for the Western concept. The mind is actually the mind-heart. It's the thinking, feeling, willing function. It goes to the top of the head, all the way down the body. It's literally how you think, how you feel, and how you then will. And then the intelligence is like the observational council that can observe the mind. So the mind is getting all the information from its senses, and the intelligence is able to observe and say to the mind, the mind might want to do one thing, but the intelligence is saying, actually, if your purpose is to do this, Mr. Mind or Mrs. Mind or Miss Mind, that's not a really great idea. And the reason why we do a lot of our practices, aside from as a platform for Bhakti Yoga, is to be in the mode of goodness, where the lake, instead of it being tumultuous waves and craziness, it's calm. So the whisper of grace, so the whisper of mercy can come from the divine source of parampara into our hearts, into our minds, and intelligence and mind are in concert, like a beautiful orchestra, helping to direct you. Yeah. So, and of course, you also have Paramatma, the particle of Krishna within. So when we're really in the mode of goodness, we make it more likely that grace can whisper to us through the vehicle of Paramatma or Guru and properly steer us in the right direction. So why is this relevant? If you live in the mode of goodness, the more you live in the mode of goodness, so partake of habits that help mode of goodness and try and reject things that are not in the mode of goodness, whole list of that, but that's experiential. The more you're in the mode of goodness, then when you get to that place of sabotage, where you can see the mind is going to do something that's against its interest, what happens is, because of the narrative you've got about the story that I self-sabotage, what you're actually doing is identifying with the story. But here's the thing, if we are the soul, then we're not the subtle body, and we're not the body, we're neither. We can choose not to identify with the mind. So we can choose from our intelligence, say, mind, I'm not the mind, I am actually soul, and you, the mind, I want you to act in the interest of the soul, not just in the interest of the crazy mind that's going here and there. And you can have the power as intelligence to tell your mind to act properly in the interest of the soul and the interest of loving Krishna. And therefore, in the moments of self-sabotage, the more you're living in the mode of goodness, and the more you're aware of this objective instrument of intelligence that can talk to your mind. And the less you identify with that behavior, the more power you have to influence that behavior at the key point where you might do something that will self-sabotage you.
Mm. Thank you.
That may have been
Yes.
quite a lot of information in a small amount of time. I apologize if it was.
No, it was just a reminder of information, so it was easy to digest. Thank you.
Good.
But yeah, it's just, I guess what you're saying is also to just to hold that really down to your center and keep reminding yourself what you know you're not this body, and connect to your soul. Do you find any Prabhu, if you don't mind me asking, do you find any specific practice? Of course, chanting, but do you find any practice quite helpful for you in these moments?
Well, there are two things. There's the kind of the avoidance of the negative and the attraction of the positive. So the avoidance of the negative is begging to Gurudev to help me. If I recognize myself as helpless but not hopeless, then I'm going to the right place. Instead of me trying to sort myself out psychologically, I'm going to my best friend, my guru, who will help me sort it out. The more I beg, the more I weep inside, the more helpless I am at his lotus feet, the more likely it is that grace will enter my heart and help me make the right decision.
Thank you.
And there are 3 stages to, let's say you're in the middle of, if you're in the middle of self-sabotage, it's usually quite difficult to get out of it. So there's a period of time before it happens where you can see it's coming. There's the moment it happens, and there's after the fact. So I'm thinking, in terms of practical practice levels, is, ideally you want to be praying to, as Yashodananda was talking, ahead of it almost, because you can see it's a belief that is part of your, life, or at least, as I call it, a self-defeating or limiting belief, actually, inside of what Prabhu's just said. So you want to start, I think, use the intelligence straight away, be proactive about this, see the pattern, where is it coming, be practical, specific, rather than abstract, which I'm sure you're capable of doing very, very quickly. You probably know where the self-sabotage manifests and is expressing itself. So, and do you have an idea where they are, or is it everywhere? It's probably specific, right?
Yeah, it's specific to, especially to my health and well-being.
Health and well-being.
Yeah,
right.
I tend to want to eat crisps, every once in a while. Like,
yeah, well,
just really dig in.
Nobody could ever relate to that, but I guess. So
or just like not do yoga. Yeah, I identify them.
Right, so it's specific. It's where you eat crisps when you know you should. It's not, and then you don't do yoga. Those are 2.
Very specific. Yes.
Right, so you want to get specific as well, and be alert to it, combining the philosophy of what Prabhu was talking about, the understanding of the self in relationship to the soul, and we also want to, as Prabhu is already looking to pray to Gurudev in advance. It's not always easy to catch yourself in the middle of it, so you want to be proactive before it comes, present when it's happening, and shorten the amount of time that you're in it, so that you don't have to keep repeating it. It sounds like you're super aware of it now, and probably have been for a while. It's about how do you access it in the moment, right? Or before it happens. Anybody else? Sorry, Yashodananda, did you say, did I cut you off there? Did you want to say anything else to that about?
Just 2 more things. I don't want to go into it now because I don't want to take up other people's airtime, but offline, Diva, there are 2 things that I'd love to be able to share with you. Charu mentioned it. One is to explain what the mode of goodness means in depth. That could be helpful, which I can do offline. The other one is I'd like to share with you about Nityananda Prabhu, because the biggest weapon we have in Krishna consciousness is infinite grace, and grace that we're not qualified for, but we don't need to be qualified for. And that is always an incredible rescue, beautiful. Nityananda Prabhu always is there to help us as our eternal best friend, like Srila Gurudev. So those 2 subject matters, if you want to take them offline, very happy to do that. And I'm just mentioning it because for everyone else listening, there are also some great access points for resolving these kind of issues.
Absolutely, Prabhu. If we could connect later, I'd love to
Sure.
hear from you. Thank you.
Shananda Prabhu, is there material also that we could send everybody on, or anybody else, on the mode of goodness that would capture some of it? And
well,
also,
I tell you what we could do is, if Diva was, you don't seem like a shy person to me, so
sometimes,
or maybe a bit of both. But what we could do is we
overcoming.
could take this offline, online, so we could have a session together on Zoom and then
Yeah.
share that back with the group.
That would be great.
That would be
Yeah.
wonderful, because I think
Thank you.
capturing the essence of the mode of goodness, Prabhu, would be wonderful, to really encapsulate it, and also that philosophy of the mind, the senses, you know, and the soul, the chariot, you know, and if you could capture that as well, that would be really, really helpful, because that philosophy we're familiar with, most of us, but you know, reference point would be great.
I find it's underutilized in devotional life, actually.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you could, because one thing is to know it conceptually, the other thing is to really read it and think about it and absorb it and practice it and then share experience of it. Because I use that frequently about how to observe from the intelligence about what's going on in my day, but to access it is real challenge. But also just reading it, you know, regularly, and then sharing that, and then sharing your experience of being able to observe from that point of intelligence is just wonderful and hugely valuable for me. So thank you for that. Anybody else from the panel or other? We've got like 8-9 minutes, right? Tarun Prabhu, what should we do?
If anyone else from the panel would like to respond, we can do this. Otherwise, Brajanath Prabhu would like to respond. Okay.
Wonderful.
Prabhu.
I can only speak from my own experience, and I've been studying the philosophy for 40 years. And I have to be very honest, philosophy doesn't really capture my willing, the strength of my willing power. Yeah. That's me, it may be for others that it works out. But really what is my experience is that when I am in an environment where I feel immense love and affection, then I reciprocate. Yeah. Where I feel trusted, where I feel accepted. Yeah. That is, I just wanted to share that, because bhakti is all about love, and of course we can be sentimental, and that is another thing. But really, if we are in the association of those who really have a amount of bhakti that is much more than we have, in that type of association, we just feel naturally drawn to do that which is reciprocative. We want to please them. We want to express our gratitude, our appreciation, and then we have suddenly we think, oh, I forgot that I had this strange habit, or I had this strange, you know. Then we feel like this is where I thrive, where I feel completely nourished, and yeah. You follow me? Can you follow that? Yeah. How do you feel when you hear this? How do you feel?
I resonate so much. And honestly, that's what has helped me intentionally practice bhakti yoga since the past few months, is having this space and this love from this beautiful sangha that we have in London, and just allowing myself to be a part of it and be involved and flow in it. And that's really what is really, that's honestly the only thing that has really made me want to practice and want to get really deep in my sadhana. And I really feel held, and also an opportunity for me to be of service. And I really feel like that is really reaching our highest potential in these gatherings and these sanghas. So I completely feel that. Thank you.
Thank you for
Haribo.
very beautiful. Thank
you.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you so much, everyone. What a beautiful session.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dilip. Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like I've just heard over the last 2 weeks so many things that I could relate to and so many answers from our senior Vaishnavas on the panel, which has just, sort of opened my mind to things which I can do better and things that I can reflect on and, try to improve in myself. So I'm very, very grateful for not only the speakers who have, revealed their hearts and, allowed us who aren't as brave as you guys to sort of be, have their questions answered, as well as the panelists who have, given such amazing advice from your experience. So I'm in deep, deep gratitude right now for everyone, and I'm sure everyone on the call that has been listening can, relate and has found a lot of help in these sessions. So thank you. And now I am going to pass it over to our most amazing Yashodanandan Prabhu to actually talk to us about the next week's session, which is going to be an extremely special session actually set up by him. So we're very excited. Well, us who already sort of know the background knowledge of it are very, very excited for it. And after you guys hear this explanation from him, I know for a fact you guys are going to be over the moon. So Yashodanandan Prabhu, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Very well, thank you, Vishnupriya, and thank you Tarun, both of you for all your seva, for your emceeing. Thank you for beautiful panel, for all your answers. Brajanath and Dilip, fantastic 2 weeks, awesome. Really happy we did the bonus session. Absolutely beautiful, and thank you so much for all the questions today, which were really as it should be in holistic bhakti from the younger section of the devotees. I mean, really instructive in how the questions were so sincere and simple and got right to the heart of the issue. I'm really actually in awe of the sophistication, the clarity, and the purity of the questions. So very exciting. It's very exciting for Krishna consciousness' future, because those who are under, say, 35 right now, I mean, we're all the future Krishna conscious. I don't want to exclude anyone over 35, which includes me, let alone Budara, right, Budara? But those under 35 are the future of our Sangha, the future of Krishna consciousness across the world. So it's very exciting to hear such brilliant questions. So I'm going to introduce next week. It's called Meditation in Action. And it follows on quite brilliantly from these 2 weeks. We didn't really, I can't say it's down to great planning. Well, it is down to great planning. It's Krishna's planning, not our planning, that's for sure. And in these 2 weeks, we've really discussed we've really unearthed a lot of problems in Krishna consciousness. But as my Gurudev always likes to say, there's no such thing as a problem. Step on the head of all problems. Problems are only opportunities to get closer to Krishna. And so next week, meditation in action is how, and I'm sure we all have very varied and very intense relationships with our sadhana. Sadhana that varies in quantity, varies in quality, varies in absorption. I mean, there's a whole story regarding sadhana. But the purpose behind next week is to keep the message really right on with Krishna consciousness. We're not taking it off track Siddhantically. We're absolutely faithful to the Siddhanta, to our acharyas. We're not going new age. We're not going ultra modern and taking it away from bhakti. It's absolutely pure bhakti. But it's pure bhakti in action. It's going deeper into the instructions of our acharyas. And instead of our sadhana being, sometimes, let's admit, sometimes it can feel like a chore. Sometimes it can feel like a burden. Sometimes it can feel like work as opposed to something magical. How do we take our meditation so as, I can't remember who it said. I think it was Brajanath said. So yes, Brajanath, you were saying, so we can take it into a 24-hour experience. Whether we have our hands in our bead bags or not in our bead bags, it's all sudden. So how can we make the sudden really practical in our day? And how can we improve our day through our sudden? That's what next week is about in a very practical way. And what's even more exciting is that those of you who want to get involved in the development of this process can actually get involved in the development of it, as opposed to just be recipients of the information. Because we're in the process of creating something, and we've created, well, of course, most of it's created already by our acharyas. All we're doing is recycling and representing the material. So what we've done is we've taken it to a certain point, and we want to open it out both for practical use next week, for feedback, and for your active participation in its ongoing development and sharing with others. So we think it's going to be a very exciting session next week, and hope you can all come and participate. That would be my privilege. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Yashodananda Prabhu.
Was that clear, Tarun?
Yes, it was very clear, but it also leaves us with a drop of, oh, I want to find out more. I'm definitely going to be there next week. We didn't see what that was. Well, we meant to see what you put something in front of the camera.
Oh no, I was just letting someone in the room.
Oh, okay.
So that's my finger. So.
It's with this background. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Again, to all of the panelists, a special thank you to Dilip Prabhu and Brajanath Prabhu, who took out time from their busy schedules to speak, then took out further time to come and speak again at the request of different devotees. Thank you so much. I just want to reiterate this, I've said it a few times, but when I first talked to Yashodananda Prabhu about this idea, one of the deep things in my heart was that all of the devotees should be able to interact, and that the senior devotees who have had this sadhu sangha should always have this channel where they can interact and give to the junior devotees, and that the junior devotees can come and hear from them and seek advice, seek counsel in them. So in this time of lockdown where it's been so difficult to see even dear family members, I'm so grateful and humbled to see that we have this format where these organic interactions are happening, and where we're having these engagements and these very relevant discussions. And just before we go, I want to say that it feels very apt that we're discussing harmony on such an auspicious day as this, with sorry, I always get confused between appearance and disappearance. Yes, it's the appearance of Jagat Guru Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who has come basically to spread harmony throughout the world, and he came to give harmony through Mahamantra. So it feels really appropriate that we're going to go on next week and focus very specifically in our bhajana and sadhana. So thank you everyone who made it possible, the organizers, the panelists, the audience, and of course our Rupanuga Guru Parampara. Thank you so much everyone, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you all next week. Jai Nityananda!
Jai Nityananda, Haribol.
Haribol.
Vanchakalpatarupyasya kripasindhubhyo Nam Parvati Vishnavedya Namo Namaha.
Thank you so much, everybody, as well. Taran Prabhu, thank you. Vishnupriya, thank you. Shodananda Prabhu, Yashoda, anybody else on the team. Brajanath Prabhu, and I were talking that at some point you may like to offer another course at some point in some form. If you're interested in that, please let us know. Just leave your name in the chat. We haven't worked it out yet, but if you are interested in something further at some point, please do kindly let us know. Thank you so much.